Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Stewart, and I'm here with Thomas Stecko from Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics. And what we're going to talk about today is digital manufacturing transformation for small manufacturers. Thomas is going to do most of the heavy lifting here today and talk about a solution that Sandalwood is putting together around IoT for free. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Thomas, and he's going to walk through some slides and then give a quick demo of the solution. Thomas?
Great, thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for the brief intro there, Tim. So my name is Thomas Stecko. I am a systems integrator here with Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics, working in the systems integration group, specializing in digital transformation, data collection, and implementation. I've been with Sandalwood close to 4 years now, with past work in pharmaceutical and renewable energy space. Yeah, so I started my career in power electronics, and I progressed through the years. I'm based out of Southwestern Ontario, Canada, about 45-minute drive from our head office in Livonia, Michigan. Today's balmy 2 degrees Celsius and/or 36 degrees Fahrenheit. And let's kick off this webinar. So we'll be focusing on some open source software solutions that we will be implementing in the stack. And as Tim alluded, we'll look at some hands-on demonstrations, simplifying dashboard with Grafana, and looking at creating forms and publishing forms with Orbion Forms. Let's go back here. We do have a separate webinar on IoT for free. This is something that we did with Tim a couple weeks back, but just to touch base on IoT for free and what this initiative is. It's basically a architecture and a set of tools that will allow anyone to start down their digital transformation path. The idea of this program is to demystify IIoT and to take some of the guesswork out of the implementation. It's kind of geared towards small to mid-sized companies, whether they might be supplying other larger companies such as tier 2 or tier 3 suppliers. But that being said, the principles and the framework that I'll be going over can be made applicable to any endeavor. This will include a stack for data presentation, along with a method for digitizing your processes. So any manual entry forms, such as downtime, quality, machine vision, any type of forms that you have that are done with pen and paper, can be utilized and digitized within this stack. There's a lot going on this slide. I don't want to pay too much attention to all these slides. I really want to show this in our demonstration. But the overall structure of the stack is based off of the general tech stack as we have outlined here. Below at the bottom here in this lower section here, we are using OPC UA and MQTT messaging protocols, which push the data from our source devices to an MQTT broker. This broker allows agents on the PostgreSQL server, in our example, to subscribe to them, allowing for their consumption to open source databases. This broker also allows for Grafana, which is what we're using to visualize our data, to subscribe to the same topic for real-time data presentation. Kind of how we have it laid out within our lab environment is as follows, where we have an MQTT broker that's running as an instance on the IoTForFree VM, which is right here smack in the middle. The instance is connected to a Linux VM at the top here, which is hosting these PLC simulators. And these PLC simulators are simulating machine properties such as temperatures, pressures, speed, fault characteristics, and etc. The broker allows the agents on the relational database to subscribe to them, allowing for their consumption to the open source database. Within Grafana, we can utilize the MQTT database plugin. And once that's fully configured, we can subscribe to the broker's topics and visualize that data within Grafana. Being able to visualize the forms that we create, we also have an ability to implement the form data from Orbion Forms back within Grafana. So we can visualize any form entries within the same platform that we're looking at our streaming telemetry data. I'll get to that when we do our hands-on approach. A couple of characteristics that are important when we're designing a site or a user interface is what we want to show. What is the overall user experience? How often do we want to update this data? Are there any manual entry forms that need to be entered that we can overall overhaul and digitize? As an example, within our sandbox, I kind of created a site map to brainstorm ideas how we can improve the website navigation, what we want to show, what we can show, or anything in the future that we would want to propose on phase 2 or phase 3 of an application. So here in this example of the hierarchy, I focus on 6 groups. So first, I would want some sort of a home page that gives me a brief overview of my assets, what the health is, are any assets or machines in a fault condition. Then I might want to navigate down to a secondary layer for my KPI, my performance metrics, normalized telemetry data. Then I can go ahead and go into a third layer and look at alerting. So I can go ahead and create alerts on specific variables, specific process characteristics, and get those shown to me within Grafana. Then an ability to digitize any forms, quality checks, have that ability within Grafana and or beyond forms. And then looking at your historical data. Do we have a database where we can query that data? This tech stack looks at all open source technologies. So we're looking at MySQL, Postgres, Graphite, Prometheus, a lot of open source solutions out there that we can use to visualize our data. For those that have not used Grafana, this is the main database engine or the main UI engine that I've been testing for this stack. It's an open source platform consisting of various widgets, customizable dashboards, property transforms that is operated in the cloud or on a local server. By default, Grafana does not require an internet connection to function. However, Grafana can be configured to connect to external data sources such as databases, APIs, cloud services, which may require an internet connection. It's quite lightweight. It runs extremely fast on various OSs and has appropriate drivers to connect to your relational databases, whether it's MySQL, Postgres, InfluxDB, and etc. They also have an online Grafana University, which is free. And you just have to create an account with Grafana, and you can go ahead and go through some of the courses and start building your own dashboards just within minutes. Various plugins are available. So within the Grafana plugin library, you can get plugins for all your favorite relational databases and community plugins as well. A good example would be the MQTT plugin, which is sourced from GitHub. There is a little bit of configuration work that is required to have a unsigned application visible within Grafana, but we do have that capabilities as well. And you can also go shopping within their navigation and widget libraries to pull Pareto charts, heat maps, heat signatures, any type of visual characteristic widgets that might suit your application. Here's just an example of a page I built looking at computer CPU usage, memory usage, how well the server is running. Using Grafana, we do have a rich working environment where we can have time series charts, gauges, Pareto charts, heat maps, etc. We can also share our dashboards with fellow users where the user does not require a user account or a login account to see these pages, all shareable via dynamic URLs. And it's not just the real-time data. We can transform and normalize the data. So we can show standard deviation. We can apply averages, mean, median, max, all that within your Grafana envelope. Alerting is another big aspect where we can actually have the ability to set up an alert on a property, whether it's cycle time, some sort of a pressure, where you can set your hysteresis limits. And with those properties, you can also sample how long the alert needs to be active before it goes red and before you actually get that notification. We do have the ability to set up a SMTP or SMS service where we can be notified via the event, how I have shown here. So within your configuration, if you do have an alarm for any particular event and the email configuration is complete, you do get an email based off of the alert name, what value, the metrics, with the ability to silence, go directly to that alarm pane and visualize the alert. Grafana will also automatically acknowledge alerts if they've been back to normal spec within a set period. You have full control over that set period. Looking at MQTT data streaming, real-time data is vastly important in the manufacturing space. Having the ability to see our data in real time, whether we're looking at machine states, temperatures, and etc. Understanding what the machine is doing at then and there at one single point is a great advantage to have. And utilizing Grafana and the GitHub plugin for MQTT, we have the ability to stream live telemetry data. It does support basic JSON number-based type value pairs at the moment. So complex JSON data strings or structures, including strings, have yet to be supported with this plugin. The plugin has had a few updates since its initial release last fall, but still the way that we currently sit based on JSON, basic JSON number-based types are only supported. This is supported via Ubuntu and on Windows. So we're about 12 minutes in. I'm going to jump onto just Orbion Forms, just quickly go over what Orbion Forms is, the whole interface structure behind it. Then we'll go into a live demo before we do a little bit of Q&A. Orbion Forms is another open source solution in developing web-based forms on-premise, so running within a Java servlet container such as Apache Tomcat. The user interface uses a built-in application called Orbion Form Builder, and within the form builder you do have the ability to create any type of form, whether it's first name, last name, any type of particular checkboxes or okay. So here we see Orbion Forms. So here's the basic Orbion Forms user interface. This is called Orbion Form Runner and Orbion Form Builder, where you can have access to your published forms and any forms that you have created in the past. So looking at some forms that we have created in the past, some of the forms that are published, we can see I've created a form for the downtime entry where you have the ability to put in a username, a last name, any type of parameters that you would like for your particular form. Here I'm looking at downtime as an example. So user info, machine information, any type of resolution steps. And you can see all the available widgets you can choose from in creating your forms, whether it's date and time, text fields, drop downs, calculated fields as well. You have the abilities to create those forms and have them for you for particular viewing. So if we look at some published forms, if I look at a downtime entry form, we can see a form created the other day where I submitted some basic info, I chose a line, I chose an asset, I gave it the part number, any relevant information, and I saved it. And the beauty of this type of application is within Grafana. So here, let me jump onto Grafana. So this is the Grafana, here's a sample going to visualize that form entry out of Orbion Forms. I got a message here, it's unstable. That was a downtime form, and we can see here, I created that form yesterday in Orbion Forms, and I'm able to see it within Grafana right here, and I have the ability to click it from Grafana, and I'm able to see that filled out form all within Orbion Forms with just one click of a button. And I have the ability to save it, print this as a PDF, I can store it, and I can use it later for reporting. So a quick exercise I would like to do is quickly jump on to Grafana, where we can build a sample dashboard and just see how fast we can actually get the visualization completed. An example would be going to a cycle time chart where we're looking at machine cycle times. Here, this data is from a cyclic simulator like I discussed earlier in the slides. We have full capabilities, full control. We can move all of our mashups and pages the way that we like. Very responsive, with the ability with just a couple of hours getting the platform up and running with the visual aid. Here's an example of some telemetry data that's coming down from my PLC simulators, where I just have a stock image of a assembly line with characteristics for RPM, current, voltage, exhaust temperatures, and etc. You can set thresholds for these parameters. So if you have upper and lower hysteresis thresholds, we can set up CSS styling to change the colors and the look of the actual platform. Get the status of the machine, see how many cycles that we're running in real time, and we have the ability to get a little map of the states of our properties. So what we can do within Grafana is we can go ahead and create a new dashboard, a new panel, and what we're going to do is leave this as a time series chart, but you can see here on the right hand side all the different types of widgets we can choose from, whether it's statistical widgets, histograms, pie charts, gauges, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our data source as the MQTT data source that we've created, and with that we have a topic from our MQTT mosquito broker. So I'm just going to save, apply, to give it a name, and let's go last 5 minutes. Slowly see the data coming in here. So we can see the live telemetry data starting to stream. With that data streaming, we can go ahead and let's save it, apply. We can also add on to this. So if we click here and add an additional panel, we can go ahead and change this to stats, or we can change this to gauges. So if we select a gauge, and let's go ahead and quickly swap this back to our topic. Let's save this. Why? Now, based off of our simulators, if the simulators go offline, or if we lose a signal with our network, we will see a drop in our data based off of MQTT Explorer and how that Explorer is currently running. And we can see here it is waking up again. So we can see here that quickly go ahead and create any type of charts. We can create gauges. We can create widgets. If we want to create a time series table where we want to see the data in a table, we can go ahead and set up a table, get our topic in there, save, and apply. And we can see that the data is coming back up. So we see our exhaust temperatures, our oil pressures, RPMs, etc. And on these gauges, we can set up additional properties on the legend. So if we want to see the last null value, we can set those properties up as well. And fully capable of under deployment and over deployment. We can start with a basic mashup. You can duplicate that mashup, or you can duplicate that specific dashboard and build onto it with full permission properties in place as where we can prevent unauthorized access to particular dashboards, whether we want dashboards for an engineering group, for a manager group, supervisor group, and etc. We have those capabilities as well. One last thing I want to show before we go to some Q&A is creating a form and seeing that form populate within Grafana. So if we go to the form summary, and let's say we look at the quality, so we can go ahead and set up a navigation. So we can see here I have created a summary page of 3 tables, one for downtime, quality, and end to shift. And you can set navigations for those specific mashups. So if I go over to a quality table, we can see the entries that are within my PostgreSQL database. And within Grafana, I can go ahead and create a new entry, which navigates me right into Orbion Forms. And from here, I can go Test user day shift. Today is the 8th. So we can just quickly go here. We can set the defaults to yes or no. I just left it all as blank for now. So let's quickly go here. No, 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 no. You can also set permissions. So if fields are left blank, you do get a warning, a pop-up that that field needs to be entered. And we can go put this in a couple spots. We can save that, document save. So within the summary, we can see that the document is created within Orbion Forms at 11:23. And if we go back to that quality page, one of these guys, let's go back to quality. We can see that within Grafana Forms, it updated, so we can change the update intervals and refresh rates to 5 seconds at the bare minimum. And here we can see there was that entry that I created within Grafana Forms, all good, all good, all good. And I have the ability to go back to that form by simply clicking this link here, and I'm back to that form. We can go ahead and create a PDF, you can print it, you can save it, you can submit it for a report or for any auditing purposes, and you have all that stored within your relational database. So Tim, I don't know, yeah, do you have anything to add there as well, Tim? Or
Yeah, I just want to tie this back into how small manufacturers would actually utilize the solution. So when we look at the problems that small manufacturers face, they really face the same issues as larger companies. Their machines may not be running as much as they would like, so machine availability is an issue, quality, employee turnover, reliability, fluctuations in demand, et cetera. And there are some of those that we can certainly help to address utilizing a solution like this. And when we look at what you've done here is to simulate tying this into a machine, a PLC that's generating data on a continuous basis. And now we can utilize this solution to monitor that machine and actually give alerts when performance is out of ranges, when the machine goes down. And similarly, from a quality perspective, we can use this to connect to testing equipment or anything else and allow the company to get a real-time view of what their quality production looks like, and then keep a permanent record of that so that when they have other issues that come up from shipped products or something like that, they can go back and see what happened in production during that time. They can utilize this information for root cause analysis and to improve their problem solving practices. So very powerful tool. Thank you very much for the demo today. And it's amazing what can be done with this open source stack of solutions.
Well put, Tim.
Yeah. And in terms of the timeline for a small company to get this up and running, you mentioned a couple things, but just to get a start at implementing this for monitoring machines and so forth, and putting a few mashups in place, how long would you say that would take to do kind of that initial deployment for a small manufacturer?
1 week, maybe less.
Okay, that's very quick.
Yeah.
So, this really is a viable solution for a company that only has kind of a limited number of equipment, that you're going to be able to take that information, connect to those PLCs, connect to sensors that you add to the devices and so forth, gather that information through either just an MQTT type solution, or you may need to get something like a Kepware license for certain types of equipment that doesn't have some of that connectivity that exists. But you're not looking at downstream ongoing license payments for that type of, right?
Correct. Yeah, everything that I've shown with the Orbion and Grafana is 100% open source. Like you mentioned about Kepware, any additional licensing for server licensing or licensing for SQL, those are always going to be there. But with open source relational databases, open source UI, open source form digitization, it's free. There's zero cost. You might have some implementation costs installing all the necessary backend work to get Orbeon to talk to your relational database, to get Grafana installed on your local host. But after that, there are no reoccurring costs with the visualization. Grafana fully updates its platform on the fly. There are no backups. You're not exporting XML files like you would with other platforms. And the community is growing. We always have access to newer widgets. If you ask a question and there's a lot of interest, that widget might be built. And we have the capabilities to build our own widgets as well.
Thank you. We're just about at our half hour here. If anybody in the audience has questions about this, whether it's about the technology stack or whether it's about how to apply this within your operation, please contact either one of us. We're more than happy to answer those questions. Any closing thoughts, Thomas?
I've noticed just one closing thought is working with Grafana and working with all these different UI platforms that I have been working with within the past four years. They're getting easier and easier and easier to implement now, to a point where it's extremely beneficial, for anyone in this realm to really look at implementing some sort of solution like this, where you can utilize your UI on a tablet, on a phone, not necessarily just stuck to a or a smart PLC, right? And it's only going to get better. It's going to get faster. There's more features that are going to be implemented, and I'm quite excited for what the future has.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me today and giving this demo of the IoT for Free solution from Sandalwood.
Guys.
With that, we'll sign off for today. Thank you, everyone. And again, please reach out to us with any questions.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone.